Right. So this is going to be an Axing demo for, what's it called? What, number 29. So spoon challenge 29. And Kevin very, what's the word? Nicely volunteered to be the Axing person. And we've got Jason, who's going to just swing the camera to smile at us, who's the cameraman. Yep, we've got Kaylin on documentation. We've got Sean just freezing in the background, and Suzanne, who's here to just be cheered up. So the wood that Kevin's using is a beautiful piece of black cherry, which is 3 years old, and he's just split this a quarter down and got 4 nice looking pieces from a quarter. And now we're deciding where to put the template on that piece of wood. And I've just blown everyone's minds by saying I would put the bowl where the wiggly grain is.
I would always put the bowl where the wiggly grain is. It's like a quote from the Fonz. Rachel's like the Fonz of spoon carving.
But I've just realized I forgot to spotlight you. Just a second. I've got to work out how to do that. Spotlight. Great. Okay.
Oh, there's a little, so there might be a little figure over here. Now that I see it in the breaking light.
So the reason I do that is because I want a nice straight grain on the handle. It's when you've got a relatively straight handle, it's just easier if you've got the straightest grain going down the handle. And you're going to be using a hook knife and manipulating around the back of the bowl, so it's not so important that you don't have straight grain on the bowl. So that's the logic.
That's a good logic. I feel like that's a good logic. I feel like when there's wiggle in the handle, you get some of those spots that always tear out, and and they're annoying.
Yeah. So what I would do first, how flat is that surface for you?
How flat is the surface?
How flat is the top of the wood? Yeah, I can't tell from here.
There's some ripples and waves. There's a bump here and a bump here, so it's not. I would normally flatten that out with the axe before I started with the template. Can do.
Thank you.
I'm going to cut the bark off too, just by habit. Is that okay?
That's fine. I mean, you could even split down a bit, so you're not having to plane quite such a big surface.
Oh, you want me to split the bark off? Is that what you mean, or split the surface more?
Well, I would split. Check how wide your template is.
How wide it is with the bowl at the wiggly end.
With the bowl at wiggly end. Yeah,
I'd get rid of that nasty.
Yeah, I would too. So I would split down. Yeah.
So where was the bark over here? So would you transfer? So would you transfer the spoon a little bit further towards the pith and then split off more?
I wouldn't want to go too close towards the pith, but I would certainly be happy to split down the side before I planed it off, because it just saves work.
Gotcha. I'm going to lose this pencil about 5 times during this demo.
Okay, you're going to put it somewhere sensible?
Cameraman / pencil holder.
Where do I put that? Small.
It's right over there.
Oh, I'm cutting off some spalting, it looks like.
It's really useful to have like a set down surface that you can put your mallet on, so you're not having to bend down to the floor. And the reason that I was comfortable with you splitting that, because obviously it was straight grain, but also that if it ran off, it was always going to run away from the spoon, so you were never going to compromise your wood. That's
Look
good.
at that color. We got a weird streak of color running right through it. You see that?
Yeah. That's lovely. And I probably wouldn't split off the other side. That's been enough to work with, isn't it? So I would plane down just the top surface, so you've got something flat to put your template on.
I will remember the pencil mark side as the bowl end, because after I plane this, it'll be so smooth, it'll be indistinguishable.
Right. And in case anyone hasn't noticed, Kevin is just absolutely killing it today.
I am.
His throwing skills passed down from his grandfather.
Oh, we can't hear you, Jason.
Shine through. is to be expected from generations living in the Sloyd capital of America.
Right. If anything should happen to my fro, I could easily borrow one from any of my neighbors, 2 of which I had to send inside. They were out here working this morning. One was riding a shave horse, but I had to send him inside because he was going to be a distraction in the background.
Good.
All right, that's pretty plain, but look.
That's pretty flat. Okay, so now get your template, please.
Do you see the grain is, now we have the a better image of the grain. All right, template, pencil.
Yeah.
Check.
And, yeah, so for me, I would shove it further towards the other end. So I want to have a, no, I would put it in the middle. Okay, in the middle. Yeah, that's right. And I would mark top and the bottom with my pencil. So a pencil line across the, bottom there. And a pencil line across the top.
So does the top and bottom first. That's interesting.
I'm not going to saw these. They're just so that I know where I'm going to start from with the crank. And then I'm going to put a line where I'm going to put a saw cut. So where that shaded bit on the template is where the crank is going to be, somewhere in there. And it doesn't really matter where. So pick somewhere in there, and that's where I'm going to get you to get your saw and put a cut in.
So like there?
Good
It's gonna be a
choice.
saw cut?
There's going to be a saw cut there, and you're going to do it now.
The saw cut now. Okay. How deep into the piece?
Depends how much crank you want. About
I guess so.
Between 1/3 and 1/2.
Oh, hi, puppy. Our cute little mascot. Hi, hi. I'm just looking for a leg to hump, that's all.
I'm looking to see where he's put the saw. Was it not one of the things he brought outside?
I have one sitting right here, but he's too good for my saw, apparently.
And we should also point out that axe is really dangerously placed on that.
Yeah, this is gonna.
Yeah, it could easily knock off with that wibbly dog. Safety issue, thank you.
Yeah, we'll just cover it up and it's safe now.
So we should never do that.
So I'm doing a saw cut here.
I'm really uncomfortable about your axe.
Oh, okay.
So he merely moves it off of camera, still unsheathed.
That's fine, it's on a bigger surface, it's not going to fall off
In a
that
tool
surface.
bag. All right, so I'm gonna cut straight across these 2 marks I made, and we're gonna go
Yes, please.
to about the depth of what? About 5/8 of an inch, or about 6 American quarters.
I can't do much with that. Just a sec.
I like the English. It sounds like God.
All right, how deep are we actually going?
Well, I said between 1/3 and 1/2 of the depth of the wood.
Between 1/3 and 1/2 of the depth. Okay.
How's that looking? Yeah, that looks about right.
Okay.
And now you're going to pick up your safely positioned axe. And just the reason I put the top and the bottom lines on are because that's where I want you to start your lines coming down for your crank.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
the lines. This is where you start coming in for your crank. You don't have to go any further.
Oh,
outside
okay.
of that.
So what I found was my crank was often quite variable, and I realized it depended on how long the wood was that I was using. And once I started marking where the spoon was going to actually be within the wood, then I know that that's maximizing the crank for the cut. Whereas if you overshoot, you're just taking out potential crank for the spoon. Does that make sense?
Not really. Did you follow it?
No. So if you start the spoon on the top surface of the wood and you go down to the maximum depth of your saw cut,
Oh,
yeah, you've got your maximum crank for that piece of wood. But if you, yeah. Whereas if you haven't really known where your spoon is going to, the extent of your spoon is, that you might overshoot that. So you might bring that angle more shallow. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
you won't have as much crank in the spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So it's easier to overshoot your stop cut if you're starting way back here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's just so that you know, and because I wanted to be standardized as much as possible, this was just a way of improving that standardization. So on the template, I'm going to unspotlight if I can work out how to do that. Just a sec.
I got the template.
I've got the template. I was going to show it on mine just so that I could.
Oh, good. Okay.
So on the template, there are 2 lines here and here. So one of them shows just very gradual, not gradual, but a straight crank. So straight down into the middle of the spoon bowl or the back end of the spoon bowl, and then up the handle. And then this one is the type of crank you'd put on if you're going to do a sort of dolphin hump at the bottom of the bowl.
Oh,
so
I realize that.
that makes sense. So if you've got, oops, sorry. If you've got about a spoon that's a bit like that, then you don't want to have just one angle coming down the handle. You want to have 2 angles so that you can have a bit of material for the hump. Whereas if you've got a spoon, it's going to be, sorry, I can't get my angles right, flatter, then you want just the simple crank.
Oh, that's hip.
Okay?
I like that, Rachel. That's cool.
So you need to choose. I'm going to go back to you.
Yeah,
you need to choose.
I'd like to do
Which
the
one?
dolphin. I'd like to do the dolphin hump part because that always eludes me, and it's a part of the spoon I have from you that I really enjoy and I like to show off to people.
Oh, shoot, I did the wrong one. Just a sec. I've spotlighted the wrong one.
Anyone who doesn't have a Rachel spoon, order it now before this hits YouTube because the value of her spoons are going to go way up.
So I would start with the crank in the top of the bowl. And the reason that you've put that in the middle is so you've got space to put your fingers when you're using your axe. Obviously, you're going to be very careful.
All right, so you want me to put my fingers like right here at the very, because I have room?
I don't. So.
All right, so what's the technique for getting in this top crank? This is an unusual step for me.
So, yeah, I would be, I'm going to replay spotlight again. Shit, just a sec. Can you watch me for a moment? I have an axe in my hand. I would be holding it like this. So with my palm at the back of the wood and then making the cut there. So the reason that you've got about an inch or an inch and a half at the top is that you're not going to be hitting your flesh. You can aim down there and into your stop cut.
All right, and are we making a straight? We're cutting the full, like.
No, you're going to do it in thirds.
Okay. All right, so you look like you have your thumb around the top and your hand supporting it back here, right?
Yeah.
And you're not worried about the fact that the axe is on the same angle as your hand because the wood is between your hand and the axe?
Yeah.
Okay. I normally hold things like this or so, but I'm going to try. We're learning something here.
Okay, but do the taking off the thirds, because even though we narrowed down the width of it to make it easier, it'll still make it easier still.
Do you want to spin that to make it comfortable?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm trying to split to the stop cut, right? I don't want to blow through that.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. And obviously, the longer the piece of wood that you start with, the slightly safer this is, because although your hand's out of the way, it's still a little bit of a risk. Yep. But I find it doing it this way is easier for me than trying to do the bracing it sort of against your hand and going sideways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got that third.
Good. And then you're going to do the other third. Keeping them brilliant. Great.
Oh, look, we found another knot.
Oh, it'll make a nice feature in your bowl.
Okay.
Actually, we might miss it because remember we had a bit of width there.
That's right. We might miss it.
Okay, and so now we're looking at that pencil line that you drew, and you're making sure that you don't overshoot it.
By overshoot it, you mean don't start too high?
Yeah, don't start too high.
Hey, George, come here. We're missing. There's a show and tell.
Hey, Oren.
It's show and tell.
Yeah.
Oren and George are hanging out together in
Hey.
Israel. Jerks.
We're in the middle of a thing.
Pictures of them with their arms around each other and big smiles and eating.
When you finish that cut, Kevin, I'll just take the spotlight off so we can all say hello to Oren.
So Oren and George, we're doing a demo here. Rachel's teaching me her axe technique for the number 29.
And Kevin's learning to take instruction. He's doing really well.
I'm
Okay.
excited to
Right.
learn because I'm really bad at spoon carving. All right, so I feel like we
Okay.
have. You feel good about that?
Well, that looks good. So now you're going to take, you're not going to do a line right from the end of the bowl into that stop cut. You're going to go shallower than that. So it's a nice, easy angle down. Does that make sense? So you're not aiming it right into the depth of the stop cut. You're just going to take a little bit off the top of the spoon. Off the top of the hand.
With what? Oh, you want me to cut this off?
No, sorry, the other end. We're going the other side of the crank. Thank you, Jason.
So now we're just doing the crank from here down. And
Yeah.
you said I'm
Yeah.
not aiming for the stop cut. I'm aiming
No.
for somewhere high above the stop
Brilliant.
cut.
Yes, that's about right. Yeah.
So I'll aim for somewhere in
this-
here.
Yeah, so it makes this cut more relaxed. You're not worrying about accuracy much here.
Am I worried too much about if I overswing and put some axe marks in here?
I would really prefer you not to.
All right, I'll try not to. Let me make a witness mark here.
So again, that's really good. Making sure that you don't overshoot into that handle. And this
I'm
is a
gonna do
safer
this
cut in any case.
I'm going to do this in thirds as well.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Actually, for the thirds, if you're doing the thirds, you can aim right down into the depth of that stop cut.
Oh, okay. So that changes things. So
Okay.
now if I'm going to do these corners and I'm going to end up right at the depth of the stop. Okay.
On the corners, you're going down to the depth. Yeah.
Just on the corners. So when I do the middle, I won't.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're just being gentle around that knot because it could go the wrong way.
It's gonna get squirrely.
Yeah, but it's going to go in the way that doesn't
I think it's
make
spot
me
on.
deeper. Right.
Good.
I mean, my axe is sharp and my technique is impeccable. So I think I'll go right through that. I feel good about that.
Good. Yep.
Makes
Looks
one
good.
of us.
When you're axing like that, it's good to do some cuts to step it up from the stop cut and back over, because then it's more likely to split safely. So I walk it up from the stop. So I do axe. Yeah, thank you. Hey, Jason, if I haven't told you before, I love you. You're great. You listen.
I'm pretending to be slow for the educational value of the video. I'm trying to emulate the everyman, not someone who's been, raised and, steeped in slow tradition in Maryland.
Good. You're doing it really well.
Thanks.
Very humbly as well, Kevin.
Okay. And so now you're going to step down to that original, imagining that original pencil line. And again, walking up from the stop gap with your axe and then cutting it in. But you're not
Right.
going into the depth of the stop cut. Yep.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to draw some lines here to make sure that I'm understanding what you're explaining. So I'm going to go down. So in the middle, I'm going to go down to about here.
Yeah, you are. Yep.
That nice straight line.
Yep.
And I'm going to, but you wouldn't redraw the handle shape on this yet, right?
Oh, I'm not. No, I wouldn't.
Okay. Doing it.
No, because I think it's going to end up being further over.
And I'm going to work up from the bottom again, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is cool. Sufficiently different from my process. So I feel like I'm really learning something.
Then go the whole length of that.
There you go. So that's the depth.
Yeah. Have you taken off any of the top of the handle there? Or do you want to just take a little bit off? This is going to give you a bit of a swoop on the handle, which is nice.
For the benefit of our American viewers, can you quantify a wee bit?
Just enough.
Half a bite of a cheeseburger.
What did
Okay,
say?
make sure you don't go into that bowl there.
All right.
Okay, and now you're just gonna cut into that stop cut from about 3/4 of an inch away from it, maybe half an inch.
Into the, so now I'm going to go from here down into the full depth of the stop cut.
Yeah, nice little axe stroke, because you're not removing much.
So 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, and you've got more material than you need, so you, by the time you come to smooth this out with the knife, you're not going to be removing much. Yeah, that's great. Just nice and gentle. Yeah, that'll come now.
All right.
That's great. So now you're ready to draw your template onto that bit of wood. Putting the axe in a really safe place in the middle in the meantime.
Oh, good call. Yep. I keep doing that so that
Testing
people can
you.
reinforce that point. All right.
So do you want to shift it across to miss that?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah.
Wonder where it's going.
I would, you have something squirrely going on here. I would make sure that's not going to hit.
Right, but do we think
That's
this?
going to be well gone because that's off the top and it's the back of the bowl. So I
Is
wouldn't
there a
worry
way
about
to-
him.
Do we think this knot is going like this or like this and it's just in the corners, or any way to tell or guess? There's a little bump here that might be the end of that knot.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would bang it right the way to the other side of the wood to keep it as far away as possible. Yeah,
It is you. All right.
good. It's me.
Right, but remember we tapered the, well, that's okay, right? The hump is still, the center
Yeah.
hump is all the way out to here.
You've still got enough. Yeah,
All right.
that's a good
banged
reason to thin
I
it down a
banged
bit
all the way
beforehand.
over to the side.
Oh, and before you do that, can you just make sure that the handle is in line with the grain? You know, if you can imagine a center line in the handle and making sure that you've got it angled. Oh, can you do that or not really?
Yeah, you see the grain is kind of going like this.
Yeah.
So you want me to angle it with the grain like that?
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll hold this now, lift the handle up and you'll be able to see.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Ish.
How well is the camera seeing
It's good.
that?
He's
Yeah.
doing a good job.
That's cool. I would never have lined up. That's cool. This is good to learn. All right. Do we feel good about that
Okay, so
position?
just draw around that shape and put extra little lines at the center line at the top of the bowl and where the point of the widest bowl is going to be. So just so that you can line those up. So like a,
I'm going to go, you'd go anti-clockwise, but I'm going to go counterclockwise.
I don't mind which way around you do it.
I just wanted to express my fluency with British English.
Ringlish.
Just English, actually, I think you'll find.
All right, I didn't, when we get there, you got to explain to me, I didn't understand what you meant
No,
by
I know,
this.
I could tell you didn't. Do this bit first and then I'll come back to them. I really, oh, it's okay, because Jason understood.
One of us was listening.
One of us was working really hard to make that anti-clockwise joke.
Okay.
Took a lot out of me. Okay.
Do you see where the crosshairs are on the bowl?
Yep. Here's the center of the crosshairs.
Yeah. I want you to be able to draw that on the wood. So you're going to have to put yourself some markers on just so you can draw the crosshairs. Yeah.
Okay.
And the center
top
line
too?
as well? Yeah.
Center line.
Okay. And then that's it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So now, yeah, you can ditch that. Now I want you to join up your crosshairs.
Just do this by hand?
Yeah.
By eye?
By eye.
You want to impress me? Do it by foot.
I mean, Rachel might get out a ruler. You don't know.
It only needs to be approximately to the center of that handle. You don't need to go all the way down.
That's good.
It's near enough. It's an axe. In any case, you know, it's not going to be, you don't need to go all the way down. It's okay. Yeah. So
Okay.
now you get to draw your bowl. So I think my original, I'm gonna take off your spotlight and put mine
Okay.
on.
I can take a break and breathe.
You
I can
can.
stretch my head.
My original bowl started like this. So I think they still fit on the template.
Mhm.
And I would have called that like an upside down egg or something like that. And originally it was just a normal spoon bowl shape, but flipped upside down. That's where I started. And they've sort of morphed a bit. So they're a bit more square now. But either of these will fit into, or this one, which is a sort of halfway house, will fit into that shape. So the only thing that I really worry about is that I want to make sure that the widest part of the bowl is at this point here. This is like a circle. So that's, these lengths are all equal size. So you could put a semicircle at the top and then do whatever you want down the bottom. The only spoon shape that won't fit in there, Kevin, yeah, well, not the only, but one of the few ones that won't is a number 9. Okay.
I can make
So-
you want me to make a number 9 variety? A number 9
No,
variety?
no, I don't. It's purposely designed that you can't make a number 9 variety.
Sounds like a challenge.
Do you want me to take a good thing and ruin it? 'Cause we can.
I already love this template.
To make the 9, I would make the
No,
point.
no,
right here.
you're not doing that, Kevin. You're not doing that.
Sorry.
It's more favorable for our lighting.
Yeah, but I can't. All right, so we're gonna make a semicircle here. You said I'm gonna make these corners. I'm just gonna try and make this round.
Yeah, and the reason we're doing this is so that we all get lots of practice drawing bowl shapes, but whichever bowl shape you prefer, obviously not whichever one you prefer, but whichever one everybody else in the world prefers.
Everybody else in the world. Well, now we'll see, Rachel, if your template gets more hits than mine. That's what we'll see.
I know whether it gets more pointy bowls than yours, and I don't think that's going to happen. That's a really, really nice semicircle. And then you can decide what you're going to go down. So you're going to go down a bit squoval, or you're going to bring it more narrowy.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it more narrowy. So I'm bringing it to here, right? This is the bottom of the.
You're bringing it to the edge of the handle.
Right, but this is the bottom of the spoon bowl, not this.
Yeah, you are bringing it to that corner, yeah, rather than the center line. That makes the bowl just a little bit longer.
All right.
Yep, you happy with that?
I'm super happy with that. This is going to be cool.
Great. Okay, so now it's saw time. So now I cut off the bottom of the spoon and the top of the spoon, but before that I put in a stop cut into the side of the handle. So I would choose a point. I would usually go about 3/4 of an inch away from the bottom of the bowl, maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, round about there.
Okay.
And you can go right the way to the pencil line, because this is an axing template. Your handle is going to be much narrower than that. So don't worry about needing extra. But obviously you are trying not to.
She's gonna bring that toy back, dude. She's a retriever.
It's all right.
Now, if you can you use the step on your chopping block to make that actually vertical? To wedge your spoon. Yeah, so shove it off the end. Thank you. There, brilliant.
But it's a pull saw.
No, it's fine, so is mine.
Okay.
It just means I find that's an easier action. And it's more braced.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The other side.
The other side. Yeah. Tidy. I would probably swap it so it was facing the other way and just do it by eye so it was about right.
Swap it so it was facing.
Do whatever you want. Do whatever you
like
want.
this.
Yep.
Yeah, and then peer my head over the top to make sure I didn't go. Just because it's more stable. It's easy for you to
Why is
peer
it
over
more
the
stable?
top.
Oh, because I have more wood against the ridge.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever peered my head. I feel like I'm doing it right.
Yeah, you look like you're peering really well.
All right.
Great. And now you can take the top and the bottom off.
Now I can what?
Take the top and
Take
the
the
bottom.
top and the bottom of the spoon.
Oh,
So
okay.
cut to your end extents. Yeah.
Killing it.
Best songs ever.
Do this one better.
Oh.
Ooh.
Shalom.
Great. Okay. Yep. So before we split down the handle, before you do anything else, let's split down this side of the spoon that is totally wasted now. Just to, yeah, please.
From the top first or handle first?
Probably the top first, because that'll give you a line on the handle.
Will you do this with a bump cut?
Yeah.
All right, so am I going to put it right on the line?
No, a little bit off just for safety, because it has that knot and we're not sure about it.
Is that more or less than a wee bit?
I suppose it depends how confident you are in the knot.
I don't know if it's more or less.
It might not bump through the knot actually. How does it feel?
It's not like I'm gonna whack it with something because the bump cut's not making any progress.
Yeah.
It's wandering a little.
What
and
if-
it makes me nervous?
Okay. Mm.
What?
Is it
It's
going
not
to do
one
it? Or not?
Oh, sorry. Oh, look what happened. That's wild.
What happened?
Oh, no.
Oh! Just dropped my axe on the concrete.
Oh, that's not good.
That is awful.
Oh, no.
I was trying to show it with the axe still in it.
Oh man.
An excuse to buy a new axe.
No, I can. I have a different. I have like a tomahawk axe that I use as a backup, so I can go get that. But you see how it's split? It's split around
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Man,
I'm
that
glad.
is
I'm glad
brutal.
that's not in the bowl. So this is a learning exercise of why it's not great to axe on paving slabs. Is he crying?
I would be.
I would be too.
No.
Let
I'm
this
just
serve
really-
as a lesson to all.
I know. I'm glad that none of your feet were there when it fell.
I'm just
All right.
glad the dog was nowhere around.
So I'm still going to use this axe for the bump cuts because it's, you know, it's
And
still a
he's-
blunt instrument.
Still going to rest it securely there to keep it from damaging the edge any further.
I got that
Right.
piece off. What's next?
And then come up the other way. Oh, no, just keep that line, keep going that line down with the bump cut just to get the rest of the handle.
Okay.
I know, just on the handle end.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, normally you wouldn't probably have to do that, but this is just so that when you're thinning down the back of the spoon, then you're sort of aware of where symmetry is, and so you're doing the same on either side. So
Okay.
do you
Do
remember
you
that
think
when we
this knot goes all the way into there?
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
it probably does, yeah. But we know, I think most of that will come off.
Mhm.
Yep, I think so too. We'll
So
be
do
in
you
the,
remember when we drew this spoon, we were really clear that the top of the bowl and the end of the handle were the finished surfaces. They're close to where the actual finished spoon's going to be.
Yep.
So that means that on those places you can really thin it down, okay? Because you're coming for a spoon shape that is just a sec.
okay, so we're going to thin down the bowl and the handle now.
Well, what you're going to do is you're going to do your third thing, okay? So from the handle end, the bowl end, sorry, where the stop cut is going to be your deepest point of your bowl.
Right.
Yeah. And you're going to bring some triangles, yeah, down the side of there towards the tip of the bowl. Yes. Yeah. So from there, probably a little bit further in, but yeah, that's exactly it. So I want a triangle off each side, a bit like that.
Okay. Would you actually draw these triangles in real life?
No, I wouldn't, but that's fine. It's really good for illustration.
Right. I'm trying to differentiate between illustration and process.
Yeah, it's just because I'm not really good at describing. So you're doing a good job.
Does that look good?
Yeah.
All right. I can still do this with the heel of my axe isn't ruined. And would you do the bowl end first, Rachel, or the handle end?
I would probably do the bowl end first.
So the deepest part of the bowl is actually up here. So when you're doing the handle, would you strive to go all the way to here?
Yeah.
When you're doing that handle triangle? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do bowl first.
And I think a lot of the time people don't take enough off the back of the bowl. So I'm always slightly more aggressive than or I've learned to be more aggressive. So yeah, so do another triangle on the other
We're in
side.
trouble, I think. I
How's
think we're
it
in
not?
trouble here, Rachel. You see this crack?
Is that all the way up?
Yeah.
And
Well,
where's,
all the way
where's the bowl?
All the way up
Where's
to
the
the handle. I don't know how deep it goes through.
Yeah, but look.
We might be all right.
We'll see. Oh, you're right. Wow. How did that happen?
That was probably in the log and we didn't see it till now
Okay.
because it's already darker. You know what I mean? It's already,
Yeah, it is. Well, let's see what happens.
let's see what happens. Okay. What'd you say?
I said, I think that's what I told you.
Oh, really? You pointed that out earlier?
Did you? I'm sorry.
I think we were hoping it was off to the side a little more, but it
Right.
surfaced.
That's getting nice and thin. And then
Covered it.
take the middle down. Yeah.
This is a flat surface, not a convex, right?
We might be able to get away with that.
Yeah, I think so. Tough to say. All right,
Yeah,
how
and you
deep?
can-
How?
Yeah, even thinner than that, please.
Okay. Even thinner?
Let's see how it looks once we're I probably would go a bit thinner, yeah, because this is all
Thinner.
stuff that it's end grain cuts with the axe and the knife. So you might as well make it as easy as possible for yourself. Good. Yep. As long as it's fun. Great. Yep. Pretty about that knot, isn't it?
That's pretty.
Okay. And then do the same going down the handle.
You got it. You see that crack? Can you see it on the camera?
Occasionally we can.
I think we might get away with it though.
I think so too. We
Remember,
might be-
walk up from the bottom. Just means it's more controllable and you're less likely to get those funny split outs. Okay, and then would you mind doing the hand position that we did before where your thumb,
sure.
yeah.
No, move that thumb more.
Like this?
Well, I'm just trying to think. My thumb's all on the back.
Like this?
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly, like that. Yeah.
Gentle caress.
Thumbs up on the side, hold your hand.
All right, so that's the two corners.
Yeah. And the
Now do
flat
the
bit
middle.
in the middle. Yeah. Good boy.
Trying to find one. I want to find a ridge. It doesn't slide around. There we go.
Great.
Ooh,
You're quite narrow.
yeah, but that's the very edge.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
That'll do nicely. So now you can.
So we have some facets here. And
Yeah,
here,
we're going to be splitting
but
those off.
This is pretty flat in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I would split down the side of the handle with a couple of bump cuts.
Okay.
How's that? Some of that's going to come away, you know.
What are you showing off, Jason?
Just the crack
crack.
so she knows what we're working on
Oh, okay.
now.
So would you bump cut all the way?
Yeah, I would be looking. I mean, I can tell that that's going to run out because there's definitely less material on the waist side. So I would
So you
happily
wouldn't
bump
be-
cut that.
So you wouldn't be afraid to go right to the handle width here at the bottom.
What I do is when I'm looking at the end, I look to see which is the thicker side. So which side has more waist on it?
Okay, this side has a little more waist.
Which side?
This
That
side
side.
has a
And-
little. This side has a little bit more waist in terms of being thick. This side has a little more waist in terms of being wide.
Right. Well, I would go for the wider one.
Okay.
I mean, it should be cross section. I don't. So I always split the wider one first.
So I'm gonna put my
Yeah.
act right at the
Yeah.
handle width.
Because you've thinned it down, it's going to bump perfectly.
And we're not worried about this down here.
That's still full cross section, and we haven't, you know what I mean? We haven't done the tip of the bowl yet, so we're not worried too much about that. Great.
All right.
Okay.
And
And
the
the
other
other side, I would do in two, just to be sure. So I
In
would
two.
half the distance and do it in two, yeah.
And that makes it weaker, so
it means it's more likely to run out.
It promotes the run
running
out
into the handle.
Rachel, how close to the lines do you make the stop cuts?
I go right to the line because this is an Axing template, so I know there's extra material in that handle, because my handles generally go down to about, just a second, in inches.
Wind up that blade.
Oh, it's terrible.
3/16 of an inch I go down to.
Bench grinder.
That Axing template is nearer 3/8.
All right, so that's that's split out quite a bit. See, I'm
Yep.
ran out.
So
That
now
ran
you
out
want
quite
to
a bit.
gently axe down there, walking up from the bottom.
Would you do it upright like this, or would you do one of
Yeah,
these
I
things
would.
and lay it down on the side?
No, I would do it upright.
Okay.
And yeah, it's gonna, if you keep your angle of the axe nice and acute, not acute, the other one. Yes, thank you.
Not
Then
so
it's
cute.
it's gonna pop off.
I think Rachel also would be more to her right for opportune lighting of the videoing, but that's just my thought.
I bump it if you're worried.
I got it pretty good.
Good. And then clean up the handle. And you can see there that you could take still more off the back of the handle. So that's slightly harder cleaning up cut than it necessarily would have been. Great.
You feel good about that, or you want me to get this little piece?
No, those are easy with a knife.
Okay.
And now you're gonna, you could take a wee bit more off that side if you wanted to.
Clean off the other side, yeah.
Didn't split as perfectly as you might have liked.
Nice.
Great.
Neighbor on their chopping block.
Yeah, you hear the other slow noises in the background? Maryland, classic Maryland. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's chainsawing sounds, and that even might be a two-man crosscut saw in another yard.
Okay. Okay, so now we just need to go around the bowl and you're done.
Remember, for the camera, this isn't a center line. This was me outlining the grain direction.
Yeah, it does look, and it also looks a little bit like crack now that we're looking for cracks. I do the tip of the bowl first. Now.
Tip of the bowl, this part?
Yeah. So I think you're just using the axe to get around there. It's nice and thin, so whichever way you feel comfortable doing it, I tend to, come at an angle. Well, that knot's going to be a pain, but good.
Would you go right for the knot? As
See what
if
happens.
something squirrely happens there, you're not wasting the time with the rest of the.
Yeah.
We're gonna totally lose this corner to that knot. You see that?
Do it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how much of that knot's left, actually. Great, and this is relatively easy because you thinned that down so much.
Yeah, very easy. This is nice and controlled and tiny hits. I could even do this with all bump cuts.
Yeah. And someone who was starting out might find that comforting. Yeah, that's looking really neat. And now to make the back a little bit easier, can you just do a couple more corners of those chunky bits? And not there, no, where the back of the end of the bowl is going to be.
Here?
No,
here.
Yeah. So I just want you to thin those down a bit so that the more difficult corners are going through less material.
You want me to thin down by taking this
by
plane?
taking a little bit of a triangle off that corner,
And that might get our crack out of it.
Let me change mine.
And as you
use the Rachel grip.
Yes. as you get into the way of the template, you'd probably have done this actually when you're doing the back of the handle, because you'd have seen where it was going to be. Yeah, sure, and do the same on the other side. Just make it easier to get those corners off. Or have you already done the other side? Sorry.
I've not done the other side yet.
Now we're just dancing circles around the block.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the best approach is for this corner.
I would wedge it down in that, or just off the edge of your block.
Just off the, like here?
No, with it resting on the shoulder. So.
Oh, like this?
No, more upright.
Like that?
Thank you. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
And if you're, depending on how big your step is, and if you're doing this size of spoon a lot, you might, measure your step off so that it supported its bottom as well. Yeah. Maybe it's not quite. You have to have a feel for how much pressure you're putting on the bottom of the handle there. That doesn't look too bad. Good. And then a gentle cut round to get those corners off the bottom of the bowl. Not the bottom, the handle end of the bowl. Yeah. And that similar position is great.
This is where I would typically do like a facet on the surface right to the line and then make it all match.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that show up what I did?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, so you just use the axe almost to draw exactly on the surface like a relief cut, so that the back end, that when you do the bigger strokes, it's got something to break out to.
I didn't follow that.
I think I was trying to explain what you were doing.
Oh, George calls that a helper facet.
Yeah.
Where you make a facet where you can see, so that when you're looking at a spot where you can't see, you can cut to that depth. You can match the depth on the back or the middle.
I think it also helps the wood to break to that point.
Oh,
as well as
yeah,
as well as it helping you, it helps the wood.
So that's where I am now.
Yep, and then do the same on the other side.
Got it.
Because I don't make it any cleaner than that. There's no point.
Yeah, you can top mine off. I'd appreciate it. Yep.
What was that?
Jess, you want to be on camera?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Just trying to make it more appealing than just Kevin's face. That's all.
Wobbling a lot.
What's really clever is that the camera on the other camera is set up so we can't see Jason at all.
They can't see what?
They can't see Jason at all, she said.
Took me a while to figure out where he is. I'm looking all around here. I hear his voice and I don't see him anywhere.
Yeah, same.
Like magic. Great.
All right, I could try to get deeper into that corner, but I don't have to.
You don't need to. That's an easy cut with a knife, and it's a less easy cut with an axe. So let's just have a look at the back of it just to see how deep we are. Yeah, I would thin out more of the back than that with the axe. Because your bowl's not going to be that deep.
You happy with the thickness?
No, she
No,
just
I want like more off the back, please, from the back of the bowl. Yeah,
right,
just
but do you want me to keep this thickness?
Yeah, I want you to keep that thickness. Yeah, the fatter bit of the handle is not the bottom third.
So we're gonna come in like this?
Yeah, wouldn't focus too much on the handle, just around the back of the bowl and into the top bit of the handle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she mentioned just the back of the bowl like 3 or 4 times.
So
So I
here,
would stay focused there and not so much on the handle.
I thought this was the back of the bowl now.
Carry on.
Okay. So Rachel, I'm just drawing now to make sure I'm understanding what you're explaining. Is this what you're saying? Do something like that?
It is. Not worried where you're, so between your index finger and your thumb, I'm
Right,
not worried
don't worry
about
about
that
this.
at all. Yeah, yeah. It's just,
So just thin this down.
yeah, that's right. just because those are often the harder cuts with the knife, and so you want to make it as easy as possible. Whereas at the end of the handle, it's a doddle. You have to go the other way. You have to go the other way.
Like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because the grain will go the wrong way otherwise. Will it not?
It would have, I think, in that spot. If I started
Okay.
coming this way, yeah.
Okay.
I would be worried. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Live on the edge.
How is that correct?
I'll look in a sec here.
I think we've all but gotten rid of it,
Super.
There's a little remnants right here of the crack.
Oh,
but I think
Yeah,
we'll lose that when we come up for the.
Yeah. in your corner.
top.
Yeah.
So now I could thin this down, but I would definitely want to turn around now and come this way.
Yeah. No, I think I would leave it at that. I think the rest is easy with a knife.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's it done.
Ooh,
that's it.
nice.
Yeah.
Would you ever go this way?
No.
Yeah, Rachel didn't do any of this kind of stuff, this laying on the axe block, chopping like
No.
this. Or,
I think I always found that felt really risky because my hand was in the way of it more. And so I learned just to do it other ways. So I never hit that. Though weirdly now I find myself using that cut more. But for a learner, I would leave that out because I think it's just a bit too much of a challenge, coordination and strength.
so I could see how not having to learn it and explain it and all the back and forth of confirming everything, how with that template and that method, you could really bang these out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would get fast. You know, I mean, that took a while, but it's really fast. I mean, the one that I did was something like 3 minutes.
You want to try to do, you want to try to do another one? Oh, sorry, that was an accident. You want to try to do another one at a greater speed?
No, because it's not about speed. What we're talking
I
about
don't
is
mean that.
enabling people.
No,
to
I
get
don't
a
mean
nice
like
thin
I
axe.
don't mean like racing. Right.
I'll race you.
I think it's really good to stop this recording there.
I can't
Um,
imagine George would be up for a competition.
Oh yeah, I'll
Right.
call him.
I think, are there any questions about that, or should we just stop the recording there?
I think that's fantastic. And then for what I would just ask is like, for when people are taking it from here to a finished spoon, your handles typically have like a really lovely swoop in them.
Yeah.
Are you maintaining the straight line on the back of the handle from the axe cuts and essentially straight planing that and only doing the swoop on the top profile? Or are you doing shaping on both sides of the handle, top and bottom?
Shaping on both sides. So this axe work is just really to make sure I've got
Consistent.
balance between as little material as possible, but enough
Mhm.
where I want it on the handle and on the back of the bowl. So yeah, I would now, I mean, I'm in two minds about whether or not to film, you know,
Mhm.
the knife work as well and how I then work out the handle. But what I'd like is for everyone's spoon to be, you know, different within that axing template. So I don't know how much value there is in that, but we'll see. What's he writing? Upside down. I'm going to be carving a bit more over the next week, so I'll see how I get on, and if I fancy doing one, I'll do one maybe next weekend. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. And then I loved how you showed kind of how you line up the grain for the handle. And I think that is particularly important because your handle gets very narrow. Is that true? Is that accurate to help out your
Yes, I
style
think
and
it is,
strength?
because I really like a very slender handle. So I need to make sure that the grain through that piece there is fully straight and there's no wave on it, because I don't want to be, I want to minimize the problem of having to do those backwards and forwards grain change cuts. And if it's as straight as possible here, then that makes that easy for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever lined up the grain of my handle while axing, which is probably a little telling.
See how it goes. Feedback.
Rachel,
Okay, then, yeah. Well,
hold on, I have a question.
Yeah.
typically, would you do just one of these and then carve it all the way through? Would you do a batch of these? And if you're doing multiples, do you do one at a time to here, or do you do kind of each step on each spoon?
Okay, typically I would do a batch of half a log or a log, depending on how big it is. So maybe 7 or 10. And I've found that in axe and saw work, the fastest thing for me is to do batch work. So I would make all the billets flat on the top first. I would mark all the cranks. I would saw all the cranks. I would axe all the cranks. And then I would draw around the template on all of them and do the top, bottom, stop cuts. So I would process it like that. Once I get to the thinning of the back and shaping down the handle, I do them one at a time. The way I batch it is if I'm putting down a tool and picking up another one. So if I'm picking up a template, I'll use that as a staging point for batching. If I'm picking up the saw, I'll use that as a staging point. But then once I get the axe in the hand towards the end, I'll just do each spoon through.
Got it. Okay. Will we get a demo? Will we get a demo of the rest
No
of
battery,
this?
sir.
I'm going to stop now because I did say that. Yes.